Next, we're going to talk about how leaders develop effective teams. Rensis Likert said this: the greater the loyalty of a group toward the group, the greater is the motivation among the members to achieve the goals of the group, and the greater the probability that the group will achieve its goals. The greater the what? Loyalty. You could work for whatever company or business and not be loyal to it. You're loyal to yourself. And I would argue you're not a team member, you're not a team player. All right? We're here to focus now on the team. So let's kind of talk about that. What is a team? 2006, Alcorn, in his work, defined a team this way: a work done by several associates, with each doing a part, but all subordinating personal prominence to the efficiency of the whole. Basically what it's really saying is this: we're all here, we're committed to the greater goals of the group, but I subordinate my personal interests to the greater good of the achievement of the whole. Or as I like to say it, when us wins, you both win. When us loses, you both lose. All right? That's how we say it in our marriage work, but I say it in our team. Every team has a sense of us to it. That means you have to subordinate yourself to the greater us. In a simple context, this means that a team is a collective whole of people that work together so that they are more productive. The key for any organization is to possess a team that can be defined using Alcorn's provided definition up here. A team isn't a team simply because a company pulls a group of workers together and calls them a team. If I just go around here and bring a bunch of people in this room and say, okay, we're a team now. No, we're not. We're actually a bunch of individuals in a room. All right? That is very, very different than a team. All right? Could put a bunch of individuals in a room right now and just say we're a team. Everybody has their own different goals. Why are we here? What's our purpose? All those haven't been defined yet, and those things help make up a team. All right? A team isn't simply a team because a company pulls a group of workers together and calls them a team, but instead, as a result of careful planning, hard work, and constant tweaking of team processes on a continuous basis. And there's the reference for that. So, next slide here, talk about team building, a complete guide, explains that an effective team is comprised of members that have a company culture capable of recognizing and valuing the entire team's contribution to the overall goal. Or as I like to say, is it we or me? Now you heard me reference to the whole. I get really pointed here. Are you here for you or are you here for us? Is the I more important or is the we more important? All right? In my marriage work, I say the same thing. If you wanted to be an I, what did you get married for? Marriage is about giving up the I for the we. If you wanted to stay an I, stay single. All right? Stay single. Same thing here. If you're going to come and work for an organization, you're stepping in, they're inviting in to be a part of the what? Team. It's no longer just about you. I mean, there's things that you want to accomplish. All followers want to accomplish certain things as being a part of the team. You're here, right? You work for your organization. Don't you want some things for yourself out of this other than just a paycheck? Sure you do. You want to develop yourself professionally, personally, gain more knowledge in your field, right? Those are things that you want from the team. So the team should be benefiting you, but you have to benefit the whole as well. So the question is, who do you actually live for, all right? Vince Lombardi said it this way: individual commitment to a group effort. Listen to it, individual commitment to a group effort. That is what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, and a civilization work. And H.E. Luckick said it this way: no one can whistle a symphony. Get that? No one person can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. Now, there's a very good book, and I encourage you to go get this and read it. I'm going to just cover it briefly. It's called 5 Dysfunctions of Work Teams. Anybody heard of this book? All right, great. Then we can have to spend a lot of time on this, because we're not, because I'm not here to teach the book. But it is to say, when we talk about team building, you better look at the organization and what it's doing, because those things are going to affect teamwork and loyalty, all right? And the whole works is this. It starts at the bottom and moves itself up. If an organization fosters an absence of trust, if the leaders foster a sense of an absence of trust, then there's going to be a fear of conflict among those in the team. But if you don't have trust, what you say doesn't mean much, does it? I actually worked for an organization that lived this way. It was actually a church. Worst job I ever had, won't go back and do it again. All right? It was abusive and controlling. There was no trust among the leaders, which created fear, which creates lack of what? Commitment, which avoids accountability on their part. I'm not going to tell you anything. Oh, there's a problem. I'm not going to say anything. We'll let them figure it out on their own. And I'm just here to get mine and get out, right? And then there's an inattention to results. So, absence of trust says here, this stems from an unwillingness to be vulnerable within the group. Team members who are not generally open with one another about their mistakes and weaknesses make it impossible to build a foundation for trust. Trust is foundational for any relationship, not just in an organization, marriage, friendship, right? You live in a gated community, you want to trust people in your gated community, right? You want to trust your neighbors, you want to trust your city, right? You've had 2 tragedies here, just within a week of each other, right? Here in Tallahassee, all right? Those 2 things can foster a lack of what? Trust. So you're starting to look around more, right? People start carrying their weapons a little bit more, right? Because it's fostering a lack of trust. All right? So you have to foster trust in an organization. And what they're saying here is you build trust by openness. You build trust by vulnerability. You build trust by being honest. You see, if there's one thing that I try to be, at least in the organization I'm in, is I'll tell you what I think. And when there's a right time, I'll tell you what I plan on doing about what I think. But I always tell people what I think, especially my team in Jacksonville. They know exactly how I think, where my struggles are, and what's going on, and I get their input, all right? Because I know that the team is only be strong as I foster an environment where there's what? There's trust. And if you stop trusting the organization, you've got a cancer brewing, don't you? Because once you stop trusting the organization, you're going to become a problem to the organization. All right? Next, fear of conflict. Failure to build trust is damaging because it sets a tone for the second dysfunction. Teams that distrust are incapable of engaging in unfiltered, passionate debate of ideas. Instead, they resort to veiled discussions and guarded comments. Well, so what are you thinking? Well, it doesn't matter. You see? Maureen, what's going on inside? What do you think about this idea? I don't have any opinions, but she really does. She really does. But because she doesn't trust that her opinions are going to be valid or be validated or affirmed, she doesn't share. Because when she's tried before, people put her down and insulted her. So she just holds back now. Why? Because she learned it's not safe to say those things, all right? So now there's a fear of conflict. That fear of conflict leads to next is lack of commitment. A lack of healthy conflict is a problem because it leads to the third dysfunction. Without having aired their opinions in the course of passionate and open debate, team members rarely, if ever, buy in and commit to decisions, though they may feign agreement during meetings. A lack of healthy conflict is a problem because it leads to the third dysfunction. Without having aired their opinions in the course of passionate and open debate, without sharing what you really think and feel. Because you don't, really are they going to buy in? Why? Nobody really shared what needs to be said. There's too much fear we don't trust. So if a decision's made, we're not going to stick to it. You aren't committed to us. And we'll talk about this later when we get into the interpersonal aspects of leadership in terms of the relational aspect of all this. If I'm not committed to this thing, then you can't expect me to open up and tell you much. You see? One of the companies that I know who does this very, very well is Chick-fil-A. It's Chick-fil-A. If you study organizational psychology, and I have, you'll know that the followers will always take on the personality of their leadership. There's 2 words, one you know, one you don't know. The first word is personality. The word personality defines a person's set of way of being as a person, right? Every person has a personality. Every group has a personality as well. But that's the word syntality. So what personality is to person, syntality, S-Y-N-T-A-L-I-T-Y, syntality is to group. So if you want to know what a person's personality is, you can't ask me because I may not know, right? But people who experience me know my personality because they experience me on a regular basis. Well, every group has a centrality as well. Well, what kind of company is that? I mean, those are harsh, uncaring people. And they spit people out. Why? Look at the leadership. Because the workers will take on the personality of the leader. But the leader shapes the centrality of the organization. You'll see this in churches. Some churches are legalistic, harsh, and judgmental. Why? Because that's where the leadership is. Now, they don't know that. Because see, the thing about low information people is they're low information. And if you're low information, you don't know you're low information because you have low information. Because you don't know much, right? Stay teachable. So the reality is that centrality is to group, but personality is a person. You ask yourself, what's the centrality of your organization? And who creates it? And if the centrality of your organization is unhealthy, then there's probably not going to be a lot of commitment to it, is there? And you see, Chick-fil-A is one of those companies that from the very foundation of the person, Truett Cathy, who he was as a man, his values, his way of leadership, was such that it has permeated that whole company. They're the only company in the industry that their store owners have 98% retention. They don't leave. McDonald's are constantly replacing store managers. Not them. They keep 98% of them. Why? It ain't because the chicken's great. I think it's good chicken. But it has nothing to do with the chicken. It has to do with how they treat you as a company. They demand excellence, but they also provide excellence for you. It's how they treat you. All right? Next, avoidance of accountability. This fourth dysfunction is when team members develop an avoidance of accountability because of their lack of commitment. Without commitment to a clear plan of action, even the most focused and driven people often hesitate to call their peers on actions and behaviors that seem counterproductive to the good of the team. Look, I'm just here, get what I need to get done, get my paycheck, and get out. Well, Maureen's doing such that I don't care. Let her get caught, but I ain't saying anything. So you have a cancer that's already brewing in the team. And without accountability, cancers get in, destruction, dysfunction begin to permeate, and the whole work team breaks down, which leads to, lastly, inattention to results. Failure to hold one another accountable creates an environment where this fifth dysfunction can thrive. Inattention to results occurs when team members put their individual needs, such as ego, career development, or recognition, or as I had one guy say, I'm just here to get mine, I don't care about else. That's all I'm here for. I get mine and I get out. Even the needs of their divisions above the collective goals of the team. You can see this in big companies where this division and that division don't like each other. But they forget they're still a part of the larger company. Well, we don't like them and they don't like us. IT can't stand those people over there in sales. Sales always do this and push us people in IT into a frenzy because we have to fill it. They don't know what we do over here. They don't care. They're just out there trying to make sales, make their money. But then we have to come up with all the product for them. Hear it? And there's these two divisions. They don't even trust each other, but they forget they're still working for one larger team. So what happens is the subgroup become more important than the overall group. All right? And so this is what can happen when you, as a leader, aren't thinking about the development of your team. So let's talk about the culture of teamwork for a minute here. All right? Leaders communicate the clear expectation that teamwork and collaboration are expected. It's expected. No one completely owns a work area or process all by him or herself. People who own work processes or positions are open and receptive to ideas and input from others on the team. Secondly, leaders model teamwork in their interaction with each other and the rest of the organization. They maintain teamwork even when the things are going wrong and the temptation to slip back into former team unfriendly behavior. The organization members talk about and identify the value of a teamwork. The organization members talk about and identify the value of a teamwork culture. If values are formally written and shared, teamwork is one of the key 5 or 6. In other words, think about your own values as a company. Is being a team one of them, or is it assumed? Sadly, I believe you can't assume that. It has to be written out. We believe that we are a team. We function as a team. You get that in the military, in basic training. First thing they tell you is, there are no skin colors in here. Everybody's green, or if you're in the Navy, you're all blue. Doesn't matter. We are a team. All individuals go away. That's why they cut your hair. It's to take away your individuality. So you understand we are all the same in this place, and they build you back into the person you need to be to function in the military as a unit. But in so doing, they build you as a person because they understand the strength of the team is also built on the strength of the individual. All right? And so they build in from the very beginning a teamwork and culture. Same thing with Chick-fil-A. I knew a Chick-fil-A store owner. I was down in Ocala. He said, I almost didn't get my position. I said, why? He goes, I misspelled in one of my essays the word Chick-fil-A twice. Mm-hmm. And they said to me, if you can't honor and respect the company you're coming to by at least spelling our name right, what else will you slack on? Attention to detail. You see, it was built in from the very beginning. You're a part of something bigger than you, and we value who we are. We value our company. We value our employees. And we want everybody to come here to have the same level of value. Sadly, a lot of companies can't say that, can they? But it's also why it's a $4 billion company now. It's the largest fast food chicken restaurant in the world, you see. But they've done it, I would argue. Look at their leadership. Look at their leadership. Teamwork is rewarded and recognized. The Lone Ranger, even if she's an excellent producer, is valued less than the person who achieves results with others in teamwork. Compensation, bonus, and rewards depend on collaborative practices as much as individual contribution and achievement. Important stories and folklore that people discuss within the company emphasize teamwork. Remember that the year the capsule team reduced scrap by 20%. What are some of the stories y'all can tell of your company? How about that one person who did, wait, remember, Sally, when you did this? Got it? Having stories. What do you think the importance of stories are for? Stories are important because they give you a sense of your history. They tell us where we've been to remind us how we got to where we are. But they also inspire us for where? Tomorrow. They inspire us tomorrow. I had a Christmas party for my team on Thursday, and we had no other agenda. I bought them, it was called Four Rivers Barbecue. It's the best barbecue in all of Florida. It's voted best barbecue in Florida. They have one in Jacksonville. So I got Four Rivers Barbecue, and we sat out and we told stories of things that we've seen happen, marriages saved, different things that we've done and accomplished, right, in different areas, accomplished we've done in the city of Jacksonville through policy. We sat and told all these stories. We just grinning and laughing and cutting up, having a great time. Why? Because the stories keep us connected to the whole. They keep us connected to our passion and what we're about. It makes sense? So what kind of stories do y'all share? You see? Can you think of some stories? Just think of some great stories. If you do, they start to bring a little smile to your face. I remember when that happened. All those things, build the team or destroy the team. And we're going to have great stories like that, okay? All right, next. Traits of individual team members. The following traits of individuals on a team will increase the likelihood that you're going to have an effective work team, all right? So now we're looking at what kind of traits do you want in the team members. Here you do. Here you go. You want people who have tolerance. You want people who are honest, that they have a level of commitment to the team, they're dedicated to the team, and they're flexible. And I don't need to say a lot because all those are self-explanatory, but I do want to say something about flexibility. People who are inflexible are very rough to work around, and they do hold a team back. There's one thing that is for sure. There aren't a lot of constants in life, but this is a constant. Change is going to happen. That's a constant. And so things change. And so you have to be flexible. Marketplace changes, the culture changes, all those kinds of things, right? If you're still selling leisure suits, I know I'm dating myself now, but back in the 70s, we had these, Tom would know about those, right? Back in those days, there were these things called leisure suits. Everybody's buying them. If you're buying them now, you probably got it from Goodwill or Salvation Army because nobody wears them anymore, all right? Things change, and that's a part of life. Now we're going to look at what are called 12 C's of team building, all right? And you can just go ahead and put all those up there. We're going to talk about each of these. Clear expectations. We're going to talk about context, commitment, competence, charter, control, collaboration, communication, creative innovation, consequences, coordination, and cultural change. We're going to take a look at each of those now. Now let's talk first about clear expectations. I wrote here, has executive leadership clearly communicated its expectations for the team's performance and expected outcomes? In other words, do your team members really know what the outcomes are? Do they know what's expected of them and expected of this project? If they don't, there's a sense of vagueness there. And it's the old adage, if you shoot at nothing, you're going to hit it. All right? What is the target that the team is shooting for? They need to know what it looks like. You can't be vague. Now understand there are areas that are vague. Example, when they are working on the first nuclear bomb, there were different departments that were working on different aspects, but they had no idea what they were doing collaboratively because they weren't allowed to know. This one worked on this one worked on that, this one worked on that. There are all these different divisions, all kept secret from each other, and they were working. But what they did not know at the time, they were actually putting together a nuclear bomb. But they didn't want all the people to know what was going on. They had ideas, I'm sure, until it all came together. That makes sense? All right? So what are the expectations? All right? And do team members understand why the team was created? Is the organization demonstrating constancy of purpose and supporting the team with resources of people's time and money? Does the work of the team receive sufficient emphasis as a priority in terms of the time, discussion, attention, and interest directed its way by executive leaders? Next is context. Context. Do team members understand why they're participating on a team? So if I was to ask someone, why are you on this team? I have no idea. Well, what's your purpose on it? I have no idea. That's not a really good team member, is it? So when it comes to context, people need to know why they're on the team. All right? Well, I work in IT. Well, this is an accounting meeting. Why is he here? Well, it's because when we get down with this discussion today, we're going to realize we're going to have some type of a platform to run this for us. And I've asked Bob from IT to come over and sit and listen because we're going to need IT's help to create a platform for us. Oh, that's why he's here. He knows why he exists on this team, and everybody else does too. All right? So why, in a sense, do you understand why you're on that team? Some questions I wrote here. Do they understand how the strategy using teams will help the organization attain its communicated goals? Can team members define their team's importance to the accomplishment of that goal? All right? Why is your team existing, and how does what you do affect the mission statement of the company? How does what you're doing affect that mission statement? Oh, well, when we do this, then this happens, and then the customer, when they go to the ATM, it's much easier for them. Oh, okay, got it. Makes sense. All right? Third is commitment. Do team members want to participate on the team? Do team members feel the team mission is important? If you're here and you don't feel that this is really important, you're going to come in and just sit and listen and walk out. All right? So is there a sense of commitment to the team itself and its mission? Next is competence. Competence. Does the team feel that it has the appropriate people participating? In other words, is everybody that's on this team, are they competent to be on this team and necessary for this team? And if Darren's on this team, and we don't believe he's competent, but we believe another person is, because he didn't have the education, training, and background, then it's best we get the people who are competent to be on this team for it to fulfill its mission. All right? So that's the idea of competence. All right? Does the team feel that its members have the knowledge, skill, and capability to address the issues? Next is charter. Charter. Has the team taken its assigned area of responsibility and designed its own mission, vision, and strategies to accomplish the mission? Or in other words, has the team defined and communicated its goals, its anticipated outcomes, and contributions? The charter is basically, what is it you're here for? What is your mission? What is your mission? What are you chartered to do? Next is control. Does the team have enough freedom and empowerment to feel the ownership necessary to accomplish its charter? In other words, if we form a team to do something, we come together as a team right now to do something, but we don't feel we have the power to actually do it, to accomplish it, what's going to happen to motivation? It's going to go way down. and we probably won't take it seriously. In other words, if we're coming together and we're expected to do something, right, accountability, then we should have responsibility, right? And so if we're going to empower a team to do something, they need the control to get those things done. I remember when I served as a state commissioner on the Florida Commission on Marriage and Family in 1998, Florida passed what was called the Marriage Preservation Preparation Act. Well, embedded in that act was that all high schools have to teach marriage and relationship skills education. So we as state commissioners wanted to know, Department of Education, what are you doing? Are you following through? And we found out they weren't doing much. But guess what we also learned? We couldn't do a stinking thing about it as commissioners. We could go ask questions and learn from it and then send it back to the legislature, which is what we did. But in the end, that's all we could do. We couldn't really have an effect on it. You see what I mean? And so you begin to realize that we didn't have no real power to do anything. Next is collaboration. Are team members working together effectively interpersonally? How are you all functioning as a group? Are you treating each other with goodwill and respect? Do you like each other? Are you undermining each other? Is there somebody on a team that's threatening the whole team relationships? In other words, how are you all functioning together as a team? Are you collaborating together? Or something else going on? So you need to be able to think about how you can collaborate. Next is communicate. Are team members clear about the priority of their tasks? In other words, have we said, listen, we really have to have this done by March 1st? Have those kinds of things been clearly communicated to you so you know exactly what's expected of you, all right? Is there an established method for the team to give feedback? How do you give feedback to whatever your team's here for, all right? And receive honest performance feedback. Does the organization provide important business information regularly? Do the teams understand the complete context for their existence? Do team members communicate clearly and honestly with each other? We know for a matter of fact, and when it comes to broken relationships, what predicts distress and divorce 9% of the time is communication and problem solving. It is the predictor. Well, I submit to you, it's also one of the biggest reasons people have problems in society. They're not communicating. They're not listening to each other. And if we spend some time listening, trying to understand, that creates empathy and compassion, and then you can operate out of compassion to find a solution. Next is creative innovation. Creative innovation. Is the organization really interested in change? Does it value creative thinking, unique solutions, and new ideas? But go back over here. If all we want to do is stay in our little dot, then we're not open to things we don't know that we don't know, right? We're not open to new ideas because we just rather stay in what we know. And boy, there's a lot out there that we don't know, that creative thinkers can come along and go, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't have to use candles anymore. Maybe I can create this little thing called a light bulb. What's a light bulb? I don't know. I just thought it in my head. But I'm sure it's out there. No, we don't want to use that. Hey, look at that horseless carriage. Listen, they're not going to make it. You just keep making buggies because horses will always be around. That's how people will travel. Does anybody here have a buggy? Does anybody have a car? You see what I mean? They're not open to those ideas. They're not creative in their thinking. All right? They're not innovative. Next is consequences. Do team members feel responsibility and accountability for team achievements? Let me read that again. Do team members feel responsibility and accountability for team achievements? Are rewards and recognitions applied when teams are successful? If you've done a really good job, then the organization needs to reward that. All right? Is reasonable risk respected and encouraged in the organization? Do team members fear reprisals? Do team members spend their time finger pointing rather than problem solving? Is the organization designing reward systems that recognize both team and individual performance? And can contributors see their impact on increased organizational success? Number 11 is coordination. Are teams coordinated by a central leadership team that assists the groups to obtain what they need for success? Let me read that again. Are teams coordinated by a central leadership team that assists their groups to attain what they need for success? In other words, if a business says, a corporation says, all right, we got to set up a team to accomplish something. How do you expect us to accomplish that? We don't know. Well, can we get the resources? No. We've doomed your team to failure. And what's it going to be like for those people on the team? Frustration. You want us to accomplish this, but you don't provide the resources for it. Yes. Can you imagine working that way, right? That's one of the big things you see been taking place with the military in Afghanistan. You always hear that bark. You want us to do this, but you're not providing us the resources. Right. How do you expect us to accomplish that mission if we can't have these supplies to do the mission? You see what I mean? You see that a lot. And lastly is cultural change. Cultural change. Does the organization recognize that the team-based, collaborative, empowering, enabling organizational culture of the future is different than the traditional hierarchical organization it may currently be? In other words, businesses are changing, aren't they? Way they look at Google. I have two buddies of mine. They were former Florida State football players. They served under Spurrier and was it Urban Meyer before that, or Spurrier and Urban Meyer, whoever it was. But they have a company down in Jack's Beach, and their name of their company is called Dome. D-O-M-E. They sell hats that are imprinted and all kinds of stuff like that, right? They're very successful, these two guys. But when you go to their building, they got a basketball hoop in there, and they have their team meetings shooting hoops. Now, most people sit around what? This. They don't. They shoot hoops and talk. They go out to the beach and sit out there and surf, and while they're surfing, they come up on the talk, have their staff meeting, go back surfing more. That's a very different cultural way of handling things, right? I mean, so you begin to realize these guys do things differently. That's a cultural shift than a traditional company that would sit around a table and talk. They don't. They shoot hoops and have discussions that way. The great guys, just very different in how they do leadership in their company. All right. So those are those 12 C's of team building. You can think about those for your own team and how those relate to you as an individual as well as to the teams you lead or are a part of.